Good morning, everybody. Welcome to my autumn wreath demo. I'm Kate from What Kate Made. I'm going to show you today the first part of making up an autumn wreath. So today we're going to look at leaves and flowers. I'm on again, I think, on the first Monday in October, and then I'll show you other 3D things that are going to be on our wreath. But let me tell you what I've got. I'm just going to bring you up live. Let me tell you what I've got equipment wise today. So to start with, I'm going to use as my wreath base, I'm going to use this. It's a vine wreath. So this is dried vines made into a wreath. So it's nice. It's nice and autumnal for a start, but it is very sustainable as well. So I'm just going to use that as it is. I'm not going to cover it, but I'm going to do a nice sort of half, maybe 3/4 of the way around it with leaves and flowers and various things, maybe a mushroom and a pumpkin. I'll show you how to do those next week. But today we're going to concentrate on making flowers and leaves for this. Now, I have already made up some flowers and leaves, so I will show you what I've got here. So as regards flowers, I think in autumn, I think dahlias and chrysanthemums, because they're usually the last things that flower in our garden. So the ones I've come up with are these two. So they're both made with felt, but you can make them with fabric as well. The reason I tend to use a lot of felt and fleece is that it doesn't fray, so you don't have to worry about frayed edges. So this one is like a chrysanthemum, I think, and that one's a bit more like a dahlia. So I think there was templates on the post with flower and leaf outlines for you, which are the ones I'm going to use today. So I've also made some little, just using ribbon, some little they're not really flowers and they're not really leaves, but they're kind of going to fill gaps, and they're a nice sort of autumnal colour as well. I've chosen all oranges, browns and yellows and some dark greens. I've made up these as well. This is raffia, again, nice natural material, just wired into a little bunch, so that will also fill in gaps. So they're quite good for filling in gaps. Now, as regards leaves, I'll show you a few that I've done. I made a lot ready yesterday because I knew I was going to need loads. Wouldn't have time to do them all today. So the templates I'm going to use, I'm concentrating on the sycamore one. So I've got that in two sizes, an oak leaf and general leaf shape. You can also just cut leaves out, sort of, that kind of leaf shape, cut them freehand. Good idea is to use pinking shears, because of the serrated edge they've got. It makes a really good leaf. So I'll just show you a few. So the sycamore leaves, I've done the big one and the small one. Now these are felt. It's quite a cheap acrylic felt. It's because it's stiffer like paper. It's easier to cut out and holds its shape a little bit better. I've drawn the leaf veins on these two with a Sharpie pen. So again, it's just your templates and your felt and a Sharpie pen. Now some of the others I've cut out of fabric. This one's out of fabric. It's double-sided. I've sewn the lines on the sewing machine, the leaf veins, but you could do that by hand with some embroidery thread. So what else have I got? I've got that's another fabric one. That's the oak leaf shape. I also made cut some with the, like I said, just with the pinking shears. Again with the Sharpie pen, and I've got some that are what I call leaflets, little leaves. I'm going to make them up into sort of like a rowan, so it's a multi-leafed leaf, if you like. So those are all my ones I've pre-prepared. Pop them to one side. What else I've got? The sorted ribbons, beads, needle and thread. I've got some assorted wires. I'll show you how when I make up the multi-leaf one that I use the wires. I've got all my templates here. So those are my flower templates and my leaf templates. Various pairs of scissors, glue, and Sharpies. So I've chosen red, orange, and brown because they're the ones that go with the felt I've got. I've got here a whole bundle of felt and fabric in autumn colours. So that's about everything, I think. It's ribbons and raffia and bits and pieces of just about everything, but all in matching colours. So what else am I going to use today? I've got a couple of things that are a bit different. So this is Bondaweb. I've got it on a big roll, but you can also buy it in a pack on sheets. I don't know whether you can see that, but it's got a glue finish on one side and it's got paper on the other. Now what this does is it will stick two pieces of fabric together using an iron, and then the fabric won't fray. So the fabric leaves that I showed you, this one, it's been stuck together with the Bondaweb so that it won't fray, and then cut out and sewn over. And the nice thing about this is you can draw your template onto the paper, and you only need use what you want to use. It's very good for applique as well. What else have I got here that's a bit unusual? I was going to show you. Oh, I've also got an iron. I've used my iron today. I'll try and show you how to use the iron, but I might have to get up and move around a bit limited for space here. I've got my disappearing gel pen. These are great. These are heat erasable, so you can draw on your fabric and then run the iron over and it disappears. So it's quite good, that. Right then, so I think that's just about enough show and tell. I'll get you ready. I'll just turn the camera down. So, I've got a bit of a creaky tripod today, so you can see my hands now. Right, so we'll start with some leaves, and we'll start with the simplest of the leaves. Simplest way to do a leaf. These are my templates. It's just to draw it out on the felt, and I didn't do any brown ones yesterday. I'll do some brown ones. You draw it out on the felt and cut it out. Simplest way to do it. So I tend to look as well at this time of year at what the leaves look like, the actual leaves, you know. So a beech tree tends to go like a coppery brown, and oak leaves tend to go a sort of yellow or brown. So the sycamore leaves go a bit more of a reddy colour. Particularly, I've got an acer in my garden and it goes really red. Now I'm just going to cut this out. I've drawn it out onto the felt. I'm going to cut it out with my scissors. It's a little bit faint, but I can, because it's a dark colour and I've used a dark pen. Now, so that's your basic leaf shape. I'm going to use, I don't know which of my pens is the sharpest. I'll try this one and see if it shows. You simply just draw your leaf veins on like that. Nothing could be simpler than this. And we'll do it same on the back, making sure that the leaf veins go the same way. So they are. There we go. Now, to make it look slightly more leaf-like, or to give it a bit more shape, I'm going to just put a bob of glue on there, and then I'm going to fold. Just wait while my glue gun warms up. Fold it like that, so that gives it a bit more shape. If you use the pinking shears and a bit of freehand cutting, I don't like to waste, so I like to use up any of the bits in between. So my pinking, they're always a bit stiff, these pinking shears. If I had lots of little bits like this and I wanted to do one of the sort of multi-leaf ones that I talked about earlier, you can just cut them out freehand. Right, so I'll just show you this, how this works when you put a blob of glue on it. That's my glue. And all you do is just fold it there at the point. And you do need to hold it a little bit till the glue sets, but just be careful of your fingers. I think the glue wasn't quite hot enough. There you go. So you can see now you've got a bit more definition to your leaf. Can you see that? But that's the simplest of the leaves. In fact, those two are the simplest of the leaves. Right, so that was felt. Felt's quite easy to cut, doesn't need any extra doing to it. I'll show you how to use the Bondaweb fabric, the Bondaweb now. So this is quite nice fabric. This is actually probably wouldn't need the Bondweb because it's a jersey, so it won't fray. However, the Bondweb does give it a bit of a stiffening as well, so it does make it easier. And this has got a nice sort of almost leather-like feature on one side, and the other side is plain. But what we want to do is use our put our Bondweb on the wrong side. So let me get a bit of my Bondweb that I've already cut out. So here's one I made earlier. What I'm going to do is I am going to draw around just with a pencil my sycamore leaf shape. One thing I can say, I've got multiple pairs of scissors here today because I don't like, I use fabric scissors. I don't like to use my fabric scissors for gluing or for paper. So I've got fabric little scissors, fabric big scissors, paper big scissors, and paper little scissors. So these are my little scissors for paper. I'm just going to cut out round this shape. Because of the irregular nature of leaves as well, your cutting doesn't have to be like 100% precise. So if you wiggle a little bit, it gets a bit more natural looking. You don't want them to be totally symmetrical. Not that these templates are. Now, using Bondweb like this is also a really good way to make sort of, as I said, a plique or stick on patches. So if you've got something you would like to maybe add to a jacket or a blouse, you can use this to iron it on, and then it's quite good for holding things while you then sew around them. I use it a lot. I'll just take that bit to one side. Now, what you can do is you could either iron it onto your fabric as a whole piece. So if you were planning on cutting several pieces out of the same material, you could just iron a square of it onto your fabric, then put your templates on and do all your drawing and then cut them out. But we'll do it this way because we're only doing the one today. So where's my fabric? I'll just protect my board with my towel before I put the iron on it. You can see where yesterday all bits of glue have stuck to my iron. Now I have to make sure I'm ironing this onto the wrong side of my fabric. So the right side is shiny and the wrong side is slightly dull. So I think that'll just fit on there. So that's using up that little bit there. Now bear with me while I get my iron. So your iron needs to be hot but not on steam. So I'm just going to make sure mine's turned off the steam. And then you just simply press the iron on it. And it sticks the paper. Let me just put my iron away. Sorry, my iron, I'm getting all over the place here. And it's stuck, and you can just flick at the edges slightly and you can see that it's stuck. So now I'm going to cut that out. So, and then you cut round this, so you're making it into your leaf shape with fabric on one side, and then you're going to stick it on the fabric again. So I'll cut round this. It's not an easy fabric to cut this. Not with the little scissors anyway, but we're getting there. So you end up cutting this shape out 3 times, so by the time you get to the final cut, you're probably very good at this. I'll just say a few good mornings while you're watching me cut this out. So good morning to Isabel, and good morning to Joe. Let me know where you all are. When I was just chatting before we started this broadcast, Apparently it's very autumnal in Leicestershire this morning. Up here in the northwest, it's actually clouding over quite a bit now. There's rain through the night, but it's been dry, but it's so much cooler. It's just better all around. I'm not a big fan of the heat. Now, this is getting, I am making a little bit of a hash of cutting this out, but as I said, it's a natural leaf, so it doesn't have to be perfectly precise. So let's get rid of our bits from my bin. So the next thing you do is you peel off this paper backing. Now, this is always the hardest bit for me because I'm not very good at this. And you need to be careful. Good morning, Joanne from North Lincolnshire. This is always the hardest thing for me, is peeling the backing off anything. Right, there we go. You need to be careful that the paper's coming off but leaving the glue behind. So let me get this off. Doesn't matter if it tears as long as your glue's still behind. It's amazing stuff, Bondweb. I absolutely love using it. Oh no, I've cocked that up by bending that over. Bear with me. Right, not too much damage done there. So now you can see that's the right side of my fabric. There's my gluey side. So I'm going to place it again on the fabric, wrong side down, right side down, wrong side up. I'm just going to pop that on there and then just again with the iron. Sorry if I keep putting the iron in front of the camera, but it's just where it's positioned. It's a little bit awkward. So there we go. And then we just cut it out again. And I said there was a lot of boring cutting out. I'm going to have to use my bigger scissors. I'm not quite cutting it today. That was a pun, unintended. So let's cut this square out just to make it a little bit easier to manipulate. And then we'll go around. I'll try and do it with the big scissors, but the little scissors are much easier to manipulate, but they're not quite as sharp. No, let's go. It's this fabric as well. It's not very easy. I should have chosen something a bit more. So this is a jersey fabric, as I said. So this is quite floppy. With a cotton fabric, when you put the interfacing in between the Bondweb, it stiffens it up quite a bit. This probably wasn't a very good choice of fabric, but I just thought the colour was just amazing for autumn. It's just so perfect. It's definitely the colour that oak leaves go in the autumn. Now, all my fabrics, most of my fabrics, I should say, not all, but most of them have been sort of reclaimed fabrics. So this was a tunic top that I bought at a charity shop and just sort of cut apart. The other fabrics I've used, one's an old tablecloth. The dark brown one is a tablecloth. And the other one I've used is the length of cotton, which was just, I bought at a yard sale. So as I say, very rarely buy anything new. Beads are reclaimed from old necklaces. Buttons are reclaimed from the same garments I chop up for the fabric. Blue's new. Bondweb's new. But as much as I can, I try to use, as I say, reclaimed, recycled. So there we go. Let me move that out of your way. That's our leaf shape. It is a nice colour. So I'm going to actually embroider the veins on. So this is, you can either use ordinary embroidery floss, but this is a heavier sort of plied thread, and it just is a little bit easier to use, and it's got a little bit more definition. So I'm going to just pull out a strand of this, and you need to use quite a large-eyed needle for this, so we'll do our best. It might be a little bit tricky to get through. Trouble is with embroidering, when you use Bondweb, the only thing it's not good for is then embroidering through, because your needle sticks. But if you wanted to embroider your leaf veins on, it would just be Now I'm not going to tie a knot in the end because it will show. And we're just going to do a running stitch. No, back stitch would be better, yeah. Like that. I'm not going to do a lot of this embroidery because it is very boring to watch. But back stitch just gives you a nice straight line. You can wiggle it a little bit so that your vein looks a little bit more natural. We just got a little visitor come up. My dog's come up. He's been downstairs barking, wanting me to go back downstairs. Now he's come up with us. So you can see how you would embroider. If you've got a sewing machine, it's much easier on the sewing machine. I chose a sort of elongated zigzag. My machine's quite good. It does various stitches, and I haven't actually explored them all. I tend to stick to a few only, but I'll show you on this oak leaf. It's like it's not quite straight and not quite zigzag. It's sort of in between. You see that? Anyway, so but you can do it by just embroidering it on, which gives you a nice effect. But it's nice to have a bit of sort of the leaf veins or just a little bit of detail on your leaves. You don't all have to have it, because when you make up your wreath, some of them are going to be kind of just as filler. But you're starting to get the idea of how this is going to look. So that, and then I would just come in from, I tend to come down where the leaves got the, sorry if you're wobbling about a bit there, because I've got my wobbly camera on today. Or tripod, I mean. But you get the idea. So you would then just make your, now the back's not going to be as neat, but they're not really going to see the back once the leaves are laid up. So you get the idea. You'd carry on doing all of these different veins. So that's what it would look like hand sewn with the thicker thread, and that's what it looks like machine sewn. So I'll just pop those to one side. So the next thing I want to show you is what I mentioned before about the multi-leaved with lots of little leaflets, not you know what I mean. Let me find all the smaller leaves that I've pre-prepared. So I've done them, tried to do them in pairs of a similar size, because that's the way they tend to look, starting with smaller ones at the top and bigger ones at the bottom. So these are my leaves, and I just cut these out freehand from the felt. This orange felt, and I'll just show you how I did it. And again, I'm going to try and use up these bits. I don't want to, I never like to waste anything. I'm very frugal. Some would say mean. So you can just cut out the shape from your felt. And then we drew with the red Sharpie and just drew the leaf veins on. Just like that. So just put my glue gun on again. I'm going to show you how we make this into one of those sort of rowan shaped leaves. So I'm going to just sort these out. So you have a small one at the top, and then we want similar sizes as we go down, and because I've had to shove them in the bag, they're all got a bit mixed up. So I'm going to try and pair them up size wise, so that they kind of match. Maybe then them two, and then those two are bigger ones, maybe that one and that one, and then your last pair are the bigger ones. So you can see it's going to look like that when it's finished. Now to do these, I've got some very fine silver wire, I'm going to use that, and I'm also going to use slightly thicker florist wire to just join them together. Just bear with me a second while I find it in my stash of wire. So here I've got this green, which might be better, and I've also got silver wire. So I think we'll go with the green because it doesn't need it wouldn't need colouring then. I haven't got my pliers, but I'm going to try and cut this with scissors. So what I want is to attach each leaf to have a little stalk on it. So I'm just going to cut this into lengths of about 2 inches. And then I'm going to attach one to each leaf. So to do that, I'm going to do just what I did earlier. Little blob of glue. Oh, see, once I've got too big a nails to, and then as you push your leaf together, just stick the wire in it. And there you go. Probably should have put a longer bit in that because that's going to be my middle stalk, but we'll get around that. So again, I'm just going to pinch that round the leaf, being careful not to burn my fingers. See, that might burn my fingers there. I've got asbestos fingers now from all the gluing that I do. I probably have no fingerprints, so if I'm ever discovered dead in a ditch, they would have to identify me from. That is such a morbid topic, isn't it? I'll stop talking about that now. But you know, as I get further down with the bigger leaves, I'm going to do slightly longer pieces of wire because they will be slightly further apart. These are quite a narrow leaf, so bending them over at the end is quite difficult. But they will stick even if they don't curl over. This is where I should be using a dibber, and I tend to forget and then burn my fingers. Ow, like that. I could use the end of my pencil. In fact, I should be using the end of my pencil. Sometimes when they're narrow leaves, you can just leave the glue to set like that. I just need another piece of green wire. I'll just start to reassemble my leaf shape, and then I can be sure I've got enough that's right, so it's just these two. Use the end of my pen. Can you see me there? Don't think you can. If you're watching this on catch up, still give me a little wave or a shout out. Just tell me where you are and what you're doing today. Right, that's all them together. So now we're going to try and wire them. It's all sticking to my fingers, sorry. I'm going to use the finer wire and wire them together. So I'm just going to cut a bit of this off. And that's our top one. So I'm going to start it there. And then my next pair of these smaller ones. Thank you, Mary, for coming along. Catch us later. This is where it gets a little bit tricky because we have to start wiring these thicker wires together. And it isn't always as easy. And what we want to do is get them so that they are facing the right way and also wired together. And the reason we put them on the bigger wire is so that we can then manipulate them into the place where we want them to be. So I'm going to keep adding and then going around with the thinner wire. It's easier to manipulate the thinner wire. And then we can just bend the thicker wire. So there's my first two, and I've forgotten what comes next now. What size? I think it's those two. Oop, everything's sticking together with the glue. So add that one in, a bit further down. Keep wiring as I go. And bend bend the wire outwards so that the leaf is out a little bit like that. Any glue, there's a lot of glue on this, we can always trim that later. Now it's that pair next. Maybe need to fasten that a little bit tighter. Where's my wire gone? It is easy to get this very thin wire really tight. Sometimes it's easy to put a little bit of a bend in it before you start wrapping, and then it's not sticking straight out. Wrap it really tightly. The last pair, a little bit of a bend. Pull our other silvery wire down. That's it. Just enough. And the last one, a little bit of a bend in that to start with. There we go. Now, these kind of sprays of leaves are very good for, let me just get my wreath up. For just adding a bit of light. So what I would do, can you see that? I will put that leaf like this, and then I would start to lay my other leaves down, so like that, and then I would probably do the same at this side, and about here would be where I would start to build up my flowers and make a little bit more of a sort of feature there. So with that in mind, I will move on and show you how to do the two flowers. Time have we got? We're all right for time. I might have to speed up a little bit now. So this one is made with felt, and for this one you are better off with a slightly softer felt. I know I've always said I use the cheap nasty felt, but we'll go with this one. This is a more expensive, softer felt. And what you need to do is cut, it's A5 in length, so you want to cut a 2-inch strip. Now my board's marked out in inches, so that's where I'm just going to roughly cut it. It's not massively important that you probably would need more than one strip. So I'll cut two. Not very straight, is it? And we're going to need our glue gun with this. There's very little sewing involved in this, a lot of cutting. So with our glue gun, what we want to do is fold this and glue it along the edge so that we've got this open end. So I'm just going to quickly do that. You have to be quite quick with the glue because it does tend to set. So what we've got is like a flat tube, if you like. Keep the fingers on that till it sets. Okay, so once that is set, what we're going to do then is we're going to cut at about 1/4 of an inch. We're going to cut in, but not right through. So you're leaving a little bit at where your glue is. You're leaving there. So we're going to cut a fringe all the way along this piece. Now, if I don't get a chance to show you the other flower, I will show you it in the next session. If you're going to be making along, it might, you could make these, and then when we're on our next session, have everything ready and you can assemble yours along with me. And I'd love to see the finished product. Now, the idea with this is when you curl it like this, you will see that the petals, the cuts you've made in it form the petals. So this bigger one, I've done 3. This is the center one is like this, but it's like this. Then each round after that, I've made the fringing wider. I'm just going to stick with this one now because I'm quite conscious we're short of time. So what we need to do is have something to glue that on. So I'm going to just quickly cut out a circle. Where's my pen? With my gel pen. I'll use this lid. Might be a little big, but I can always trim that afterwards. So you need to have a base to glue your flower onto. So I'm going to use a circle of felt. I did on that one. Oh, thank you. Somebody's just put up when my next session is going to be, because I knew it was the first Monday in October. I couldn't remember what the date was. So now we're going to glue this on. So we're going to start in the center with a dab of glue, spread it around a little bit, and then press that down and coil it. It will overlap your glue, ow, and you will burn yourself if you're not careful. So please be very careful. And then we're going to, if you lift up the fringing and just add the glue round, you just want to keep going round and sticking your fringing. You can pull it towards the middle so you've got it out of the way while you put the glue on the next layer. And you just keep going round in a spiral. It's quite simple but quite effective. Gives a nice sort of chrysanthemum finish. Ow, I'm gluing myself. I'll go all the way around with this one. So, and then just to finish it off at the end with another dot of glue. And then you can work your petals outwards. Now for the center, I've used a bead on that one. Now I've got these really nice autumnal coloured pearls. That one I think might be a bit pale. I'm not sure against this, and they may not really be big enough. So what I might do is put more than one in. I might put 3 in. So I'm just going to put the glue in the middle, and I'm going to put 1, 2, and then the third one, maybe 4, just to finish it off. Okay, so let me just re-glue that. That doesn't seem to be wanting to stick in. So I think that's actually nicer than the other one I made. That's your very simple flower. I've got time to show you the other one now, which is very simple. We do need a needle and thread for this one. So I'm going to use the orange felt and the yellow felt if I can find it. I don't have any yet, the yellow felt, so just bear with me. I'll maybe use this one, this golden colour. So this consists of 2 flower shapes that are the same shape but different sizes. So I have them here. They were on my template list. So I've got that one and that one for the smaller one. So again, it's just a case of drawing around your template. There we go. That was quick enough. I'm going to cut it out. Now again, any little bits that are left over, keep them. They may make a leaf shape. Waste not, want not. Now this one has a centre, a fringed centre, because dahlias tend to have like lots of little stamens in the middle, and because this is an open dahlia, like a flat one, you can see the centre quite often with the ones that are like a pom-pom shape, or I think they call them, I can't remember what they call them, I used to grow them as a child. Right, so that's our orange one and the larger one, and we're going to cut the smaller one out of this sort of golden colour. So in the second part 2, I'm going to show you how to make some more 3D items. So I'm going to make a pumpkin out of fabric. So you just need a scrap of orange fabric for that. Well, more than a scrap, probably about this size. And a needle and thread and a pipe cleaner for the stalk. I'm also going to show you how to make a mushroom using an egg carton. And I'm also going to show you how to make an acorn using more egg carton and another piece of light brown fabric. So they all use more or less the same method. The egg carton is going to be painted, so you'll need red and white paint as well, or Sharpies. Sharpies are great. For the stalk of the mushroom, the egg carton colour is probably fine, but you will need to colour the top. So either, I like red and white. I know you don't ever see those mushrooms, and if you do see them, they're probably poisonous. But there we go. So that's those bits. So there's our two flowers. So they're going to sit like that, sort of one inside the other. And what I've done on this one, I ran a circle of stitching round, just a gathering stitch. So for that you'll need needle and thread. Here's one I've already got threaded up. This is sort of a dark green thread. I'm just going to turn those over because my pen mark's short, although you can, as I say, you can iron them and they disappear. So coming up from the back and then going down, and then I'm just going to anchor that through the knot there. I always double my thread and knot it, and then no, it hasn't worked because it hasn't knotted. Anyway, that's fine. We'll carry on. So we're running a little running stitch in a circle. You could draw your circle on if you're not too confident with your stitching. Gosh, got too long a thread here and it's getting tangled on everything. And I'm going to run it round a circle about 1 inch across in the middle. And then we're going to pull it to gather it just slightly, not thread needles come unthreaded, typical. I'm not very good at threading needles these days because my eyesight's not that good. I've had to buy needles with extra big eyes. Manage that. Right. Last stitch, and then I'm going to go back to the back and I'm going to pull it slightly to gather it. Push my the fleeces, they felt a little bit stiff, but it doesn't need gathering really tight. And then I'm just going to tie a knot to stop it ungathering, if you like. Might not work very well with this yeah, it doesn't work very well, but you can see how the effect would be. Now the other way you can do this is to use some glue and just squeeze it. The final bit will be our little fringe, and I thought I'd had one already cut, but I will have to do another, I think. So from our orange, because that you want to go back to that colour, I'm going to cut a strip. There's not much left on this now, it might not be enough, and just trim that bit off. And then you're going to snip it down, not all the way through, but enough to, like before, make a fringe. So two or three big impressive flowers will be enough for this wreath. And then the rest is going to be leaves with our odd little our pumpkin and our other little bits and pieces. It's entirely up to you. You could just do flowers, you don't have to do any of the other bits. And now we have to coil this, so we're going to put a little, my glue's gone to sleep again. I'm going to put a line of glue and then we're going to roll it up. Be very careful again with your fingers. So we've got like a little tube there. Now what if you haven't managed to be able to sew it, what you can do now is put a generous squidge of glue around that centerpiece. Pop your rolled up fringe and then just pinch it. And that will give your flower a little bit of shape. Same as if you'd gathered it. And then, probably should have held that a bit longer. There we go. Then you just fan that out, your little fringy bit, so it looks like a bit centre. And there you go. So those are the 2 flowers we've made today. Quite pleased with those. Okay, so let me just show you what we've done today. We've created the flowers. We've created we've done a simple leaf. We've done a more complex leaf. We've done one with embroidery. That's machine embroidery. And we've done them with the Sharpie pens. Now that, I think you'll agree, there's quite a lot of variety there. Let me just turn you up right. Right, hope you enjoyed that. So the next session for this wreath is the 2nd of October on a Monday at 11 o'clock. I will show you briefly how to make the few other items I'm going to put on it, and then how to assemble it all together. Assembling is mostly gluing. It's quite easy. A bit of ribbon for a loop. So I hope you enjoyed that. These are nice ideas for decorating anything. You don't have to make a wreath, but you can even just make a cardboard wreath if you want. Just cut a circle of card, stick these on. It'll be nice. But as they're all fabric, really, they're not outdoor wreaths. I'm lucky I've got a porch, so I can hang mine on the front door, but it's still away from the weather. They will last for a little bit of weather, but probably not a whole autumn's worth of weather, unless it was like last week, in which case, Anyway, so that's me. I'm done with that one. Join me again on the 2nd of October and we'll complete our wreath. And I shall look forward to seeing your completed wreath. So this is me saying goodbye and thank you for watching.